Exterum testing, alpha testing procedures for Shroud of the Avatar. This issue is movement and UI systems. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. Initial zoom in, zoom out, camera min and camera max by mouse wheel are set. It's pretty small range at this point. W, A, S, and D, and E and Q actually will move you or strafe you forward, backward, left, or right. Fortunately, direction is decided by mouse, right-click mouse, and turn camera, and then you can move forward from there. So you're perpetually turning with the mouse and then moving forward with the W button. You could double tap W to advance, which is fine. This is an alpha. The interface, just because it's for me a little clunky out the gate, that's only because I'm used to doing it another way. And whomever coded this up is probably very used to doing it that way. Alright, so that was my journal, procedural journal that I keep. I got in here, I'm moving around, I'm just familiarizing myself with the movements. Off camera, I double check what they want us to do here, and I'm deciding what I'm going to check. So here I think it'd be a good idea to check bag inventory and character creation. Character interface, bag interface. You can hit the hotkeys work. I was stripping down to see if there were any close glitches. I was attempting to put items in the wrong slot. If you attempt to put an item in the wrong slot, it defaults back to where it was, which is always good procedure. Update that in my log. Thought I edited this one out, but from here on out, I believe I edit out all of my log entries, just to give you the nooks and crannies of where there may be issues. And the very first issue I discover actually is at the end of this report, this video report. Continuing to experiment with cycling clothes, putting them on, putting them off. Seems to be working all right. Little difficulty snagging that sword icon. Here's me trying to drop the boots places it shouldn't go. And I'm putting things into the bag because I'm having such a hard time grabbing that sword. I don't know if it's just the item itself or me pointing on something. I wouldn't call this a bug or a glitch, it's just I'm having a hard time grabbing at it. It might have a very small instantiation point where the emphasis is actually on top of it. The interface button, open this up to adjust it. Simple stuff for now, sound, video. I decide to try out the full screen mode. Takes a moment to cycle through, but it does appear and it looks nice. Unfortunately, because of my dual monitor setup, and this was a known issue, I believe, I checked it out on their known issues before. You can have some interactivity without the game crashing, or closing is what they described it as. But as you can see, it minimizes down on my tray, and if I put it back into a windowed mode, it's split between two monitors, which is fine. Just took care of business. Moving on, I'm pretty close to the outskirts of town. I decide to head out to the border when I run into that NPC or see that NPC. I remember the instruction were to hit enter to speak to an NPC. So that's what I do. And I see that I can move my chat box around, resize it slightly. Can't seem to minimize it. It looks like that would be a minimize button, like you could pop it up into something then pop it back so it's not always on the screen, which is what I prefer. I try some of the interactivity, but I don't recognize what is apparently keywords in dialogue. I will double check that, but there's other people testing right now who have put more effort into the NPC interaction than I have, so I'm letting them take the lead on that and just liking up their comments and reviewing them as they encounter issues so that I'm aware of them as well. Just before, no, I think this is the point. Yeah, I decided to go on out to the mountain. I'm like, that's the most scenic route I see, so I'm gonna go that way. This is when I discover that bushes and trees have collision detection, which is nice. I enjoy that, actually. A movement impairment might have been preferred, but again, this is an alpha, and what I'm here to check out their environment, not to build my own. Edge of the world here. No entering into the water. There's a slight dip here. I thought I was going to fall there. Later on, I do fall through the world. I will show you that. It's a very repeatable. There it was. That wasn't through the world, but that's where I thought I was going to. So I'm measuring the perimeter of the interactable environment area. I try to interact with this deer. Say hello to it or something. Oh yeah, I think it's a reindeer. Chest. I find a couple chests along the way, along the edge here. Sometimes I grab everything out of it, sometimes I don't. What I'll do later is do a bag inventory stress test where I'll go and completely empty every chest that exists on the map and put it all into one bag just to see how that works out. And then I'll go and open up a building, one of the biggest buildings in town, and see if I can deposit everything in there. One thing I noticed during other testing was that from time to time items would disappear just by moving them in the virtual environment. Other testers have said that they've been able to duplicate items in this way. I'll double check the duplication process to see the replicatability of it. But for now, I'm continuing to measure the perimeter of the world map. I ignored these guys to see what type of reaction they would give me, and since they didn't, I just kept on going, and then, as I said, began trying to shimmy myself into nooks and crannies along the way to see if I might pass through a piece of terrain that wasn't expected. Again, this is why I would normally have my very smallest avatar type. Sometimes you can find those things. Another project I intend to do later on tonight is to test individual buildings. I know there are other people who are very involved with that. I've only seen one person who took a sincere interest in chronicling and evaluating the environment for the, I want to say client, but that's not what I mean to say, for the Shroud of the Avatar personnel, the developers and designers who are actively involved with the project. Most people clipped in what they wanted to say. I mentioned this earlier. There's people that didn't follow the protocol or procedure that was outlined, but that's something that's going to happen. You can trim down those forums at the end of the night. It wouldn't take too long. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, I will be checking every building out in the village area, then I'll check the buildings in the town area, and then I'll check the buildings in the royal area, I guess. It looks like there's three distinctive areas where you can plot things. And I think it would be easier to just create a building, try to walk through walls, fall through stairs, etc. Come out, close the building, and go again. I did like this effect. There's a shattered moon that's orbiting, derp. It is, well, it's orbiting, yeah, that's orbiting the planet. And it rises and falls just as one might expect. Nice volcano effect over there, I like that. I didn't realize until later that some of these objects, such as the torches, were interactable, which is quite nice, but it wasn't a point of emphasis for me. As I tend to do, I start all alpha testing procedures with a full parameter sweep, look for inaccessible terrain, unexpected passable terrain, problems such as that would cause a player to go where you don't want them to be. You might, for example, have hidden away in a mountain off to the side a ship that you're going to use for future reference, but you've hidden it below the world map so that they can't see it. Maybe somebody walks along the mountain, falls, and gets on that ship and tinkers around with something that you don't have protected. Who knows? This will be wrapping up pretty soon. I think I'm 9 minutes in about, and it's about 12 minutes long, 10, 11 and a half minutes long. Pretty soon I'll be coming up to the first actual glitch that I discover. There's a whole bunch of, you're not going to see it here, but it's small nuances of bumping into invisible walls, kind of as you're going around corners and things like that, but that just has to do with the collision detection scope, like the range of the, let's say that every avatar has a cylinder surrounding them that acts as their placeholder for collision detection. That's all that is. Oh yes, as I was coming around checking the perimeter, I saw a hut that I thought was distinguishable, had a nice little accent on the roof, that guy right there. So I decided to take a quick peek inside. This is the first time I interact with the sign. There's a GM or administrator, I believe, speaking in the general chat. I'm not sure whether or not they can see me or not, but I was trying to tell them about what I was doing. Cute little barn. Some of these houses I looked in. Oh, and here we come across the first, boom, the first glitch that I was able to discover. Kind of caught me off guard. Look around. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. I believe, before I go to repeat it, he falls all the way down to the secondary floor. But if not, it will definitely be in the next video. I stopped this, took a break, and was chit-chatting with some of my testing mates, and some of my testing mates offsite, not involved with this project, members of my community that have done alpha testing and put up server farms, etc., for various agencies, past clients, etc. Yeah, so actually I stop it here and I present the actual bug in the next report, which is what I think I'll do.